Welcome, my name is Jens. I'm the IGEA's Industry Development Manager. Welcome to the first of 3 GDC webinars with Mighty Kingdom. As a reminder where these are coming from, so IGEA and Austrade are organizing a roundtable with investors and publishers at GDC, and we want to make sure that the people or the companies who attend these roundtables are able to present themselves in the most favorable light. So, Christian from Austrade suggested, why don't we approach Mighty Kingdom? Great studio of the year 2019, highly experienced in that space. And also we can actually run this as a webinar, because otherwise, if we were using Austrade technology, you would actually have to come to their offices. We decided to open this up because this is the kind of knowledge that is of value to everyone. Now, before I hand over to Phil and Tony, just some housekeeping rules. The most important being, please mute yourself when you're not talking, because this is getting recorded, and otherwise a bunch of background noise will be recorded with it. So thank you very much. So I guess over to you, Tony and Phil.
All right. Okay. So yeah, no, thanks Jens for setting this up, and hopefully everyone can hear us. We are on Adelaide NBN, so fingers crossed as we go along. So yeah, when we were approached, initially the question was, can we do a presentation to teach people how to sort of present themselves to publishers and to investors? But we started to step back from that, and it's a strong belief of mine that to pitch well, you need to understand not only yourself, but also the business that you're pitching to. So today we'll run through company vision, and a lot of that is about understanding your company and what your values are. Next week, don't forget to mute your microphone. Next week we'll be talking about publishers, and then the final week. So yeah, just on the list is Saturday. We'll be touching. I wonder if there's a way to auto mute it. Here we go. So we'll probably, each presentation will probably be about 30 minutes, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end. So yeah, hopefully everyone can see my screen and see the slides as we go. So yeah, I guess I just sort of answered this question. Why aren't we starting with the pitch? This is the one that everyone always want to sort of jump into. But what I've learned is that the hard work is everything you do before the pitch. And you have to understand your business, understand yourself, understand what your motivations are. And once you sort of know who you are, then you take the next step of understanding who your publisher is, what their motivations are, and hopefully look for something that is where there's a match. With those two things in place, you can put together a compelling pitch, and that makes a pitch a lot easier to do and a lot easier to deliver once you've sort of done the hard work behind it. So I talk about vision here a lot, but I also talk about your values because they're just as important. I won't go into sort of mission or purpose in this. Whoa, there's a lot of good resources out there for that. You can mute yourself. Yeah, vision and values, they definitely feed into each other. I'll just look at him. Mute on. There we go. Every time you see Tony disappear, he's yelling at someone at Mighty Kingdom to mute their microphone. So let's start with there's a couple of questions here. What is the vision statement, and why is it important? And the easy one is to answer is what the vision statement is. It's just a sort of a short statement that defines where you see your company in the future. It's forward thinking. It's usually very ambitious, and it's the thing that you're working every day in your business to create. Like, this is the sort of the future of what you're this is where all your energy is being devoted to. So here we go. It's just a short sentence that states where you see your company in the future. What I'll do is I'll run through in a second the sort of evolution of Mighty Kingdom's vision to sort of give you an idea of but so first of all, we want to start with why is it important to have a vision statement? The simplest one is that it motivates people to invest in you, in your vision, to invest their time and their energy, and when it comes to sort of actual investors or publishers, to actually invest their money, right? It's the reason you get up every day, and so it's good to make sure it's very clear, very succinct, and that you communicate it regularly with the people in your business and the partners that you interact with. It helps differentiate you from the hundreds of other companies that are out there. It's what makes you different, right? And there are heaps of what I would consider bandwagon businesses that are out there that are just trying to jump on the latest trend. And they're quite easy to spot because, you know, as soon as a technology becomes hot, their vision changes to point at the new technology. Whereas I think the companies that succeed long-term are the ones who have a clear idea of where they want to be. That's what, you know, we look at sort of evergreen problems that you're trying to solve, and that you're building something that is robust and forward-facing and ambitious. A good vision makes it clear how people can help you. So as we sort of get later in this process and we talk about pitching and talking to publishers and investors, you realize very quickly that not everyone is going to be able to help you with your business and what you're doing. But if you can be clear about what it is that you're trying to do, then those people they'll know how they can connect you to the right person to make it happen. So yeah, definitely that's one good thing. And a good vision also helps you define what you don't do, because it's very easy in this industry. Like the game industry is very, very broad. If you're clear about what it is that you're trying to build, it's a lot easier to avoid being distracted by sort of opportunities that aren't really relevant or don't really sort of get you closer. So in a lot of ways, the narrower you define this vision, the better it can be. You'll see when we run through our vision that we kind of break that rule a little bit sometimes, but I think that helping define what you don't do sort of feeds into something that I reiterate many times, which is this: that your most limited resource is time. You know, we can always get more money, we can get more people, we can get more of everything, but we can't create more time. So you want to make sure that you are careful where you invest your time and what you do with it. And by having a clear vision and definition of what your company is going to be, or what your business is going to be, then it can allow you to focus in on those opportunities and make sure that you're making smart investments. So your vision will change, and that's okay. Like, as we've sort of grown at Mighty Kingdom, and as we sort of learn more about ourselves and what our capabilities are, it's helped us refine what it is that we want to do, and how we differentiate ourselves from other businesses in this industry. So you just want to make sure that when you are adjusting your vision, that you're doing it consciously, and you're not sort of letting opportunism or other people sort of dictate that. This gets back to making sure that it's sort of clearly articulated and communicated regularly. Because if you're not saying it, someone else is making it up for you. So you just want to make sure that you're in control of it. And I will get into a little bit more of that a little bit later, but I thought I'd take you on a little quick journey of the evolution of the Mighty Kingdom vision. Now, this is a presentation I gave just recently. So for those of you who don't know Mighty Kingdom, we started way back in 2010 as a app development company, and we were the classic example of opportunism at that point. Apps were a thing. We wanted to be in on that thing. So if you asked us in those early days what our vision was, it would have been this, to just make money. That's not a good vision because it doesn't differentiate you at all from any of the other companies out there. Everybody wants to make money. So we, very quickly we discovered that we weren't going to get anywhere if we turned up to meetings and they said, "So what are you guys building?" And we were like, "I don't care. We just want to make money." So we pivoted that towards making cool apps, right? And again, it's better. We're starting to narrow the possibility space. The apps is very broad. Cool is very subjective. But it helped us sort of get away from things we didn't want to do, web design and all these other things. It was good, but it wasn't great. And at this stage in our journey, we'd started another company that had gained some traction and that moved over to the US. I decided to exit that company at that point and came back to Mighty Kingdom and thought, what is it that I want to do? I don't want to make apps. I want to make cool games, right? So, okay, cool. We're narrowing the possibility space again. We're focusing in on a particular market and sort of, again, defining what we're not going to do. So we stopped making apps. We got rid of those customers, focused on making games. But, games is one thing. But what I started to notice, sort of observing the industry, was that the games that were standing out were the ones that had a good brand behind them, like your Angry Birds and things like that. So we pivoted to building cool brands, right? Which is, again, we're starting to get better, but we're getting broader. And so, well, what kind of brand do we want to build? So we started to refine it again, and now we want to build a global entertainment brand. Okay, that's good. We're starting to get aspirational. We're thinking big. We're thinking of what we do as entertainment. At this stage, Mighty Kingdom's starting to grow a little bit. We're starting to make those investments into the future of executing towards this vision. And we started to try and refine it and get more detailed about what a global entertainment brand does. So we kind of deviated off into this, what I call business speak, maximize our presence across multiple channels to tell cohesive, compelling stories. Now, this is almost a complete rip-off of Bob Iger from Disney, so, no original thought here. But it kind of articulated what we wanted to do, but it's so dense that no one could really remember it and articulate it and live it and breathe it. And so we, again, thinking about what it is that we wanted to do and what differentiates us from other companies, other game developers, we sort of moved towards this sort of a vision, to tell stories that inspire a global audience. And we do it through the medium of games because that's our expertise, but it opens the door to tell those stories in other mediums in the future. Stories means that we're focusing on narrative as a differentiator for us as a company. Inspire means that these aren't just Me Too stories, these are ones that actually provoke thought and have depth. And a global audience means we're not just thinking about being #1 in Australia, we're thinking about being #1 in the world. And so for us to be able to boil that down into something that people can remember and iterate and sort of repeat every day, our mantra internally is to say this, to say bigger than Disney. We look at them as the company that is the leader in this space at creating stories, creating these worlds and communicating them to a global audience and inspiring people, right? Obviously they do that through a series of acquisition as well as creation. But it's a way for us to think about how the stories we tell are bigger than us, and to look at the pathway that these guys have built and to see how you can effectively tell a story across multiple channels. Do you want to add anything?
No, that's
You sounded like you're going to jump in there. So what I will say is, like, there are plenty of examples out there of vision statements from other companies. So you can look at ones that you admire and see what their statements are. With the Wayback Machine, you can sort of see how they evolve over time as well. It's good to sort of understand them and sort of try and pick apart why you think they chose that as their vision, and of all the things that they could be building, why did they go down this path? And for your own self, take the time. I know it's often hard in the middle of development, but try and think about where you'll be in sort of 3, 5, 10 years time, and think about, if of all the things I could be doing with my life, of all the things I can invest my time in, why is this valuable to me? And that will help you start to picture the sort of impact you want to make, and that will dictate the vision for your business and for your company. And then to start to just write words down. It doesn't have to be perfect. You saw ours; it was terrible until it got better, and then it kind of got worse, and then kind of got better again. And it's always good, especially if you're at conferences, to just try it out in conversation, and just drop it on people and see how they react. And also, particularly if you're in the US, get comfortable with being bold with that vision. Be comfortable with being ambitious. Don't worry about, like, everyone will give you 1,000 reasons why it won't happen. But just have that, don't limit your vision because of other people's fear. Like, definitely just lean in, be bold, be crazy. You'll find that people will probably shake their head, but they're like, all right, well, okay, let's see how you do. And then they'll get in behind you and make it happen. So, that's been my experience anyway. And make sure that you live it and you breathe it, so that the decisions you make and the things that you do are with that in mind. So it's not just something that you do once and stick away on the shelf. It's something that you constantly revisit and revise and update. Cool. I'm just going to have a sip of water before I dive into the next thing. All right. So let's just say you sat down, you've got a vision for your company, you know where you want to go. So now I want to talk a little bit about values, and values are sort of like if the vision is sort of like where you want to be, the values are sort of how you want to get there. Like I said, the mission or purpose is the why. That's for you to come up with. That's your own personal sort of take on it. But when it comes to pitching, these are the ones that sort of really sort of impact. So what are your values, right? They're usually inward facing. So they're usually used a lot when you talk about to your employees and to your other co-workers about the things that you do and don't do within your company. But they do have value externally. Their values aren't sort of short or brief. They're usually quite in depth. There's usually a lot of motivational reason behind why something is valuable to you. so we've been through a process recently where we've sort of articulated them a lot more succinctly and clearly. But each one of our values is backed up by a paragraph of text that explains why it's important and how it's expressed every day within the company. So this, as I said, it defines how you will execute that vision. In contrast with your vision, your values are usually more stable. Like I would say your values they usually don't change over time unless you have some sort of radical sort of realization. Unless your values are terrible and now they're great. But usually you do things the way you do them because you have a strong belief system and values more closely aligned with that. So what I found is that they don't tend to change as much as they sort of gain depth over time. We've had a stated goal for a long time of sort of diversity being one of our core values. And the easy answer to that is to just track, okay, well, what's your male to female ratio or male to non-male ratio of the studio? But what we sort of realized over time is diversity has a number of different vectors. There's ethnicity, there's socioeconomic, there's age, there's a whole bunch of things. So that value might feel like a simple check mark, but once you actually dig into it and understand it and realize why it's valuable, you start to see all these other ways that it can be expressed and can be tracked. So like I say, the values don't tend to change as much as they just refine. Yeah, and that's, I think I already mentioned it, but they're usually backed up by a statement that explains why they are important and they directly influence your company culture. This is why they have value externally, because on the flip side, we look at employees. Why would they come to work for you? What would they do? Why do people sacrifice their time and their energy to execute your vision? So this is part of the reason why people make these decisions, right? Money is one thing, of course. Let's not deny that. But people will sacrifice their time and their energy and some salary to execute a vision for a company whose values align with theirs and are very valuable to them. And the same thing will happen with publishers and investors. They will be more likely to push them outside their comfort zone and help you if they can see that there's a lot of alignment with your values and with your vision.
Looking at partners or publishers, they want to not only invest in the game you're planning to make with them, they really want to invest in the team that's making those. So it's really important that those things are very clear when you're speaking to them. They'll probably ask, essentially, hey, where are you from? What do you do? How do you do it? And it's clear. You need to be clear that these are the values that we choose to make our stuff with, so they can just determine, well, actually, we want to work with these people or not.
Tony's getting a little preview of next week's presentation.
Maybe.
But yeah, so I'll give you just a quick example. These are up on our website. You can see this is a snapshot of our values as they currently stand or they're currently articulated at MK. Again, these will be refined over time. But behind each one of these is a document that goes into detail about why these are important for us and our team. This is for a long time, Mighty Kingdom was driven by the values that I established when we started it. As we've sort of grown, we've gone through a process of incorporating other people's, the reality of how they do work on the floor influences our company values and our company culture. So we wanted to make sure that it was very inclusive and participatory experience, and not just something that we mandated from on high. But yeah, so it's definitely a great exercise to go through. And again, it's one that you should be documenting, that you should be communicating, that you should be sharing, so that everyone is aware and on board, so that when you're talking to publishers or talking to employees or whoever, that they have a clear understanding of who you are and why you do things, so that they can make a decision for themselves about whether they want to help you out. So anyway, you're probably getting to the point where you're saying, okay, I did all this work looking inwardly at myself and my company, how does this actually help me? And I think when we get into the final presentation about pitching, you'll see that one question that comes up a lot in pitching is, why are you the right company to make this game? And having a good vision and good values can help answer that question, to say, this is why this is the right project for us and for this team and for this industry. So this it definitely helps. And like I say, we'll dig into that in the pitching stuff. But also clearly defining your vision and values help you make better decisions. I think you can all read, so hopefully you've got that. Again, it comes down to being clever about where you invest your time and energy. And so having a filter of the values and vision can really help sort of make you make smarter decisions about where your company's going. I'll keep coming back to this one. The most limited resource you have is time. when you go to a conference, whether it's GDC or Gamescom or wherever, you will have a ton of meetings with a ton of people. Everyone's going to be super excited about the thing they're working on, the thing you're working on. You're going to get some great advice, you're going to get some terrible advice. You're just going to get a whole overwhelming number of opportunities. You're just going to feel like the world is exploding in front of you. So you're going to feel pulled in a number of directions. And so how you choose to do what's next, this is where this hard work comes in. So when an opportunity does knock, the first filter you should look through is, does it align with our vision and values? And it's not often, occasionally it happens that there's 100% alignment, in which case that's an easy yes. It's like, let's do this thing because it moves us closer towards where we want to be, and the company we're working with or the people we're working with, our values are in alignment. But that's pretty rare, it doesn't happen very often. So one thing to do is to look at how much it aligns with your vision. And this is not to say that you should ignore red flags, but what you should do is you should be conscious of what the red flags are and why they're red flags. So the next way to sort of break it down, if it's not 100%, is to go, if we look at this opportunity, is this a step forwards for us, a step sideways, or a step back? And it's designed to be a very coarse filter. And I think when you look at it, you should think across different time periods. Like, how does this affect us in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years? You might find that a short-term step back is ultimately a large step forward if you construct the deal in the right way. So don't be afraid to ask the question and be conscious of it. Like, even if it is a step back, just know where you're ultimately going and why you're doing it. Again, when you come back to articulate that back to the rest of your company, if you've got more than just yourself there, they'll want to know why you said yes to this and not all the other things. And so going through this process helps you answer that question as well. So even if it is a step back or a step sideways, another question to ask is, does the return of this offset the opportunity cost? The opportunity cost is, again, sort of like thinking of the time that you're not spending moving towards your vision, you're in essence moving away from it. It's another one of those, be careful where you invest your time. But because everything you are doing means you're not doing something else. And that being said, money is great. It can open up a lot of other opportunities. Sometimes that can be the value of the monetary return from a deal can be worth it, even if it distracts you in the short term, because it sets you up very well for the long term. One thing to be careful there, though, is that if you keep chasing these short-term gains for short-term wins for long-term gains, the longer term just becomes further away. You end up, what was your side hustle ends up becoming your main hustle. And we've had experience in the past working in the kids market, which was, again, some opportunistic stuff, that from Disney to Moose and then on to Lego. And it's taken us a while to sort of break out of that kids developer mold. So just be careful that when you take these opportunities, that you're conscious of the cost that comes with them, and that how that appears externally as well. And the last question is, do we need to change our vision? Do we need to update what it is that we're trying to do with this new information? And like I said, this can come as either a sort of a refining of what your vision is, but sometimes you might get a piece of information that you hadn't considered, and it makes you reconsider what you thought. A classic example is a new platform comes on board, and so you decide that you're going to be the company that's going to make the first, the number one game on this new platform. And you go to a conference like this, and then you realize that they're pulling out support. Well, okay, you probably need to update your vision there. I would suggest that you shouldn't tie your vision too closely to any one partner, but that there's no right or wrong here. But just be willing to update and refine it if you do find something that does sort of shake your foundation. But a significant change to your vision does come with a cost. There's a cost of in time, because you spent a lot of time going the wrong way, and now you have to change the direction where you're going. It can cost you people, because if your vision is significantly different to what they signed up for, they may no longer be aligned, and they want to try opportunities elsewhere. And there is a financial cost as well. Like anytime you change direction in any project, you'll know that it comes with a monetary cost. So if you do it, be cognizant of the costs before you do it. And also be aware that, like, if you try and keep broadening your vision to incorporate all these new opportunities that you find, eventually you become, you lose your differentiation. It's like, we always joke about shops here in Adelaide that they can either do one thing. It's always like coffee and more. Or, you know, it's like there's always other things that they try and tack onto their business that, you know, why can't you just sell me coffee? You know, you have to do all this other stuff. So like, just be aware that, you know, if you start to try and keep, you know, we do this and this and this and this, you know, eventually you do nothing. And so when someone's trying to help you, they don't know where to point you because, yeah, it's too broad. So some words of caution. I think I gave you a couple. It can be easy to justify a decision because the check is really big. There's a lot of zeros on it. And I think, you know, we all have a price. Money is great. It does a lot of great things for us. Money can be used to buy goods and services, as Homer Simpson articulated. You know, just acknowledge that that's what you're doing. Don't try and wrap it up and other, you know, try and bend your vision or bend your values to try and incorporate it. Just say, look, this is an opportunity for us and we're all going to get paid. Let's just do it. Like, you know, we can blow this up and start again after we're all, you know, driving nice cars and have our houses paid off. So that's fine, but just don't try and pretend that it's not what it is. You know, comes back to this one, don't compromise your values to make a deal. This almost always comes back to bite you. And either, you know, you'll burn out on people who start to lose faith in your vision because you keep changing it, or lose faith in your company because you're not living the values that you state. And it will also mean your partners will start to lose trust in you and lose faith in you. And ultimately, it just takes a lot of time to manage the issues and rectify the issues. And it's a distraction from the thing that you should be doing, which is building towards your vision. And again, I touched on this earlier. If you don't define your values, then other people will. You know, particularly as your organization grows and your company gets larger, if you're not very clearly articulating what it is that you do and don't do and how you do things, then other people will just make it up. They'll make up their own version of it, and invariably you'll hate it and it will not be what you want. And so get this done early, do it often, make sure whenever you onboard people, whether it's a partner, whether it's an employee, or whether it's an investor, that you're clearly articulating this stuff so that they know where you lie, and that they don't, in a conversation somewhere with someone else, just sort of fill in the gaps and suddenly you become a company that you're not. And, you know, just be conscious and in control of the choices you make. You know, a lot of the stuff is a lesson by just bumbling around and making a lot of mistakes and having to fix them. And these are the things that I wish had been articulated to me clearly at the time, that there is a cost of not doing these things. And thinking, oftentimes when you think you're communicating clearly, you're not. And so always keep, you know, always reiterate your values, reiterate your vision as much as you can, and write it down, put it in front of people, incorporate it in your stand-ups and your meetings, everything, and be in control of it. And when you see it drifting, don't just sit back and see where it goes. Get in there and fix it. Don't be willfully ignorant right here, which is yeah, I think it's a trap that I've fallen into in the past, where you know, you hope things are better than they are, and when you investigate it, you realize they're not. And then, yeah. Anyway, learn from my mistakes. Don't go through it again. Anyway, so in conclusion, we'll run through a big slide of words, and then we'll get into some questions. So vision and values, they're important to you, important to your company, and important to the industry at large. They help people understand what you're trying to build and how to help you get there, differentiate you from the thousands of other developers out there, help you filter your opportunities so that you're not wasting time running down the wrong path, and they make you a conscious participant in your own future. So yeah, if you can go through this process, understand yourself, understand your company, understand who you are, where you're going, what you're doing, and why you're doing it, then that will make interacting and dealing with publishers a lot easier. And so, you know, next week we'll talk about publishers and how this matters to them, and how you can use these to help you pick and choose a good publisher. We'll also go into sort of stuff around publishing deals and the pros and cons of each, and other things like that as well. And then obviously the final one, we actually get to the pitch. So yeah, that's the presentation for today. I've got a open Q&A here, but before we dive in, Yen sent through some questions from a couple of the participants, and there's one here that I thought was relevant for this section, which was from Chaos Theory, where they talk about that the core of their game is entertainment, but also has a social message to it, and just wondering if a publisher or investor is going to care about that, and how can you focus on that to increase your marketability. And and the way when I thought about that question, I actually thought about it from the other way around, which is that, do you want to have an investor or a publisher that doesn't care about your social message? Like, if that's an important value, an important part of your vision, what you're trying to build, then you shouldn't be trying to bend yourself to get a publisher. The publisher should be trying to bend themselves to get you, if that makes sense. Yes, it will matter to them, and it should matter to you more than it matters to them. The holy grail here is to find a publisher and a relationship that you set up that has mutual values, right? That you're aligned in that area.
And if it is important, lean into it. So if it's something that having a social context or value is important part of your game, why isn't that a value proposition, and sell that value proposition?
Yeah. And there's definitely a case of, like, everybody wants to be liked, and so you want to try and keep the conversation going, and you want to try and sort of, no one likes to hear a no, but a no is actually one of the most powerful things you can get in business, because it tells you not to do it, right? So it's so hard to get to know so many times and so many deals that they just drag out and drag out and drag out, because nobody wants to just say no, like, this isn't going to work. So the more you can do to push someone into a position of yes or no, the better. And if that is important to you, and that is that is a core part of the values of your company and of the vision of what you're trying to build, then yeah, use it as a way to get you to know. So I don't know how the Q&A is going to work, but I imagine Jens is going to run it. So I'm just punted that to Jens, hopefully.
Happy to run it. So look, I mean, I'm happy for people, if they have any questions, to essentially unmute themselves, or if you're really very, very shy introverted, just feel free to put some questions into the chat. Either way is fine.
I imagine the presentation was so clear, and everyone was so, like, amazed and blown away that there's no questions. That never happens. Well, I mean, like, I can flip this around if no one's willing to talk. I would like to, I know Matt is in here somewhere. I'm just being told my internet connection is unstable, but I know that Mighty Games have been around the blocks. Nice name there as well. So I'd like to even ask Matt about what his experience has been like in determining the vision and the values behind Mighty Games.
Completely unrelated companies, by the way. Yep. It's an interesting, like, yeah, it's pretty interesting, because we've been doing this for not as long as you, so probably like 6 or 7 years. Ben and I started kind of working together, and I've realized that we never really put things down on paper. We just kind of communicated them between ourselves, which is now I realize I should put it down on paper. So thanks, Phil. That was great. What the interesting thing that you had was the notion of deals should align to your core value, and that's been so damn true. That's like, and we've done a lot of gigs where we've basically done them for the money, and there's a two-sided deal to that, because it's creative industry. You know, so much relates to the team, and so much relates to the people in the room, that you kind of will do anything to keep the people in the room together and kind of producing, work together. But that's a really strong motivator. But I've also found that can get you so far, and then it falls apart, because you end up taking deals where it's like, yeah, you keep everyone together and they can keep making, but because the deal was motivated on that, it's not actually, you end up with this, like, you end up with this kind of like curse where everybody's paid and it's all great, but at the same time, everybody hates the work, and so so nobody wants to do it. So yeah, that is a really important point. Like you should definitely judge jobs against, like, as a company, what do you want to be, and that's Yeah, it's a good point. Just saying.
I'll back you up though and say that it's really hard because
Yeah.
you know, but I think it's like, yes, you take the deal and everyone gets paid, but it's also just like another 6 or 9 or 12 months where they're not doing the thing that they want to do. You know, you're playing this sort of catch up of trying to do the thing to get you to the other thing, but then like the other thing never turns up, and so you just chase your tail a lot, and suddenly you've been doing it for 10 years, and
and we've definitely hit that. Like we've had patches where you know, it feels like you're running really fast but you're not actually getting anywhere because you know, you're basically chasing payroll, and you know, there's a noble side to that. You know, you definitely want to do that. You know, you need to look after everyone and keep the team together and all that kind of stuff, but there's a point where you've kind of eroded away the happiness and the reason and the motivation for why you're doing it in the first place. So it's a problem. Yeah, if that makes sense.
And I'll say as well, though, in those situations, I find that the more clearly you can just explain why you're doing a thing, and as long as everyone goes in with their eyes open, they can choose to lean in or lean out of it. Yeah, like again, always communication is the key, right? Like it's the thing that we need to do enough of, and the thing we need to always be better at. And look, I'm definitely not saying that we're perfect in any way. There's so much, you know, work that we have to do every day to keep improving on this and getting better at it. So it would have been a lot easier if we'd started it on day one than trying to sort of jam it in on day, was it 3,650?
Yeah.
Still counting.
Yeah.
Britain has a really good saying that just gets true every day, that like every business problem is a communication problem. That like it doesn't matter what the issue is that's occurring. It distills down to like people aren't on the same page. You know, communication's gone wrong. Like every issue that you encounter has this thing to do with communication, where like either people aren't on the same page, or yeah, that whole notion of like, we're doing this for this reason and that's why we're doing it, and that's the whole that's the kind of end of the discussion. You know, it's so fundamentally important, but you know, over time, like everyone can agree to something for a short period of time. Everyone can go, yeah, totally, we'll do that thing. But you know, when you're waking up 6 months later and it's still going and it's not over and you haven't shipped it, and it's like, oh man, we got another 4 months of this. Like, yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. Yeah. Games, you know, they just suck. You know, like it's just a nightmare.
And if I think as well, like oftentimes when you're in the trenches on a project, you can't see how this is moving you closer towards anything else. And so I think it's on the responsibility of myself and Tony and us in the studio to keep reiterating what the vision is and how each part of what we're doing moves us closer to that, even though it might feel day to day that you're just grinding at a problem. Like all these things add up to get us closer to where we're going to go. And you know, the times that we do it, everyone gets all jazzed up and the mood lifts and it's good again. So again, communication frequently and often, and open and honest, and just be clear about what it is that you're doing and why.
Yeah, I mean, underpinning that's always a communication problem for me is it comes back to, are you living your values every day? You know, are you communicating those? And what happens when you're not communicating those? We're actually, you know, expressing those values aren't true. So that's why the values are important to us. We have to communicate them to our team every day. We communicate those to our partners. We communicate those to our publishers, and they get it as well as us. Otherwise, we don't know what we're doing.
I'm going to go back on mute. Other people have better questions.
There are actually some more questions in the chat. I'm going to start with Nico's. Sorry, Xin, but I think Nico's just aligns well with what you just talked about. Nico's asking, how do you go about investigating a publisher's vision other than looking at their games and website?
Well, and this will touch into stuff we're talking about next week, but the website is obviously the first place to go, and that's their publicly stated values and vision. But usually a publisher that you should be talking to, this shouldn't be their first game. So like talk to other companies that have worked with them,
Yeah.
and then test them on how those interactions actually align with the values that they state. Most companies are going to be pretty willing to talk, because if they've had a shit experience, they don't want someone else to have one. And if they've had a great experience, they want everyone else to have it. So people are pretty open. Out beers and they start to open up.
They'll be pretty quick. I mean, what we've found is that publishers and partners, they don't want to waste your time, don't want to waste theirs. So they're speaking to hundreds of people about, how many pictures they're looking at. So they'll be very direct. So if you say something like, I've got this fantastic game with blood everywhere and swords and whatever, and their response would be, actually, we just don't do that. So let's leave it. That's a great thing to get straight up.
And quite often they'll say, but you should talk to blah, because they're looking for one of these right now. So again, it's like the clearer you can be, the quicker you get to the right deal.
Cool. Zin from Savvy Soda has a question, kind of ties into what we'll be talking about next week, but he's asking, do you guys self-publish or go through a publisher? Why? Or why not?
We do both.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a complicated question. The mobile industry is quite low. So I'd say we've experimented with self-publishing on mobile enough to realize that we probably need some expertise in key areas to be able to cut through the noise and to be able to market effectively. So for our key original IP project, Wildlife, we have a publisher, Rogue. For other projects we have in our pipeline, we are self-publishing because they are sort of different markets or different value propositions where we have expertise.
Yeah. Those for us have been, they're established brands. We don't have to go out and establish a brand for our game because that's already been done for us.
This will be a little bit about what we talk about next week about the types of deals that publishers have. Like we've done licensing deals in the past, which they come with a built-in audience. And in other words, the cost of marketing is a lot lower than if you're working with an original IP product. That's sort of a deliberate strategy we executed, and we can sort of talk about that next week. When it comes to console, we've gone with a publisher, or a publisher approached us with a deal, so that's what we're working with. But there's a scale more like you are to need a publisher to get you the reach and my connection back. And there it goes. To get you the reach and the visibility that will help your project succeed. There's plenty of examples of smaller self-publishing on things like the Switch, and if you've got the right product at the right time on mobile, it can be quite effective. But mobile these days it's like the he who pays wins almost when it comes to marketing, and particularly we're playing in the puzzle genre, which is a notoriously expensive market to play in. I think there's no one true answer to what is the right fit for that for a company. I think the way we think about it is that we look at every product we develop as its own business, and we make sure that we're making the right decisions for the model the business model that game is operating on.
Great, thank you. Nico keeps coming with the questions. He's asking in the chat, how much time do you spend chasing a specific publisher if there is a good fit? Do you address their concerns and repitch?
We're always chasing publishers.
Yeah. I mean, the difficulty is still understanding when to chase them, when not to chase them. And essentially it comes down to time again. So what's the opportunity that you're missing out on by doing that thing is a question that we have to ask ourselves when we do it. When you get to a point of actually the opportunity is that we're missing out on is too great by continuing this, then stop.
Yeah, and again, it's a difficult one to sort of just blanket answer, because we've been doing it for a while now, and so we have a lot of relationships with a lot of different publishers, and so we're constantly talking to them about what we've got in our pipeline and whether there's any alignment with our future slate with what they're looking at. And their needs change all the time as well, and what they're looking at and what they're publishing. So we just sort of have a continuous relationship with a lot of different people, and oftentimes that doesn't result in a deal in the first year. Sometimes it might be 3 or 4 years down the track that the deal comes together. And then on the flip side, we have something like Funcom and Conan, which sort of fell together in 2 months. Yeah. So that's just a random, so there's no sort of one hard and fast rule. But and again, we'll come into this next week, but a lot of it is about building relationships and
that's really important. I think what we've found is that because we've built the relationships with a lot of publishers and partners, while the answer might be no for one particular opportunity, it might be yes for something we didn't think about for, and they'll come to you and say, hey, that thing didn't work out. How about these other things? And that's happened quite a bit.
Yeah, we have people who come to us and say, you know, hey, you know how you did that thing for them? Can you do one of those for us? And you're like, sure. Like, you know, so just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, the relationship and keeping that is important, regardless if you're, you know, pitching to them or not.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're just people, right? They want to help you get to where you want to get to. Again, like if you can be clear about what your vision is, they're going to want to buy into that too. They're going to get excited about it. That's their job, right? They want to break out and do something cool and unique that's going to help their bottom line and also help yours, and et cetera, et cetera. Again, we're touching on stuff for next week, but and these people don't, you know, once you engage with a person at a publisher, they often move around, they talk to other people in the industry, they change companies. So keeping and maintaining those relationships will open you more doors than just the publisher you're speaking to.
All right, great. Any further questions? There are none in the chats. Anyone? Bueller?
Don't be shy.
That's cool. I mean, look, if you want to get in touch with us, get in touch with us. It's, you know, phil@mightykingdom.com or tony@mightykingdom.com. Now, happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I'm sure Jens will share our contact details. But like, yeah, this is, you know, this may feel like homework, and it may feel like, you know, something you don't want to do. And I think as well, like, you know, Matt sort of got me thinking about it earlier as well. When you're smaller, a lot of the stuff is easier because there's only a couple of you and you can talk about this, you know, every day or over beers or something. But it's like, if you have an ambitious vision for your company, you're going to grow. And so getting this stuff done early can save you so much time and energy later on, even if it feels silly. And it will be, and like, honestly, the first time you do it, it won't be good. But just like everything else we do, right? You know, your games are crap until they're great. You know, you just go through this iterative process of improving. So, you know, just, you know, suck it up, put on your big boy pants or your big girl pants, and just like do it, write it down, try it out, be embarrassed, you know, learn from it, iterate it, get it better. It'll pay off in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, unless there are any further questions, I think we've come to a natural conclusion. Just someone put something in chat. All right. Look, Phil, Tony, thank you very much. This is greatly appreciated. I'm very much looking forward to doing this again next week and the week after. I really appreciate you taking your time and, you know, sharing your insights. So thank you very much. So round of virtual applause for Phil and Tony for being so generous with their time and insights. We've recorded this webinar. It's our intention to put this eventually on the IGEA website. That section is currently getting built, but we'll certainly share it, and then we'll also be able to share, if Phil agrees, the slides that he's used in today's presentation. And so if you have any questions or would like to get the contact details, please reach out to me. I'm very happy to put you in touch. So again, thank you very much. That was fantastic.